Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's Sohbet and Dhikr. I know I intended to do this a little earlier today because I have another thing at 7 o'clock. And I'm also at home with my children, and well, it's things happen. So things haven't really gone according to plan, timing wise. So we'll have to try to keep this fairly short, and that's fine. We can still do some. We can do a short sohbet and do some zikr. We have time. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa alaikum assalam. Wa alaikum assalam. Today, I'm sure everybody has witnessed the images on the news of the chaos last night in Washington, D.C. It's very troubling times, very testing times for everyone, wherever you are in the world. This on top of the climate change, this on top of the COVID-19, natural disasters around the world. It's a very testing time indeed. But there's always light too. As I wrote just a few hours ago, we are looking on the one hand and seeing the chaos and the bad things that are happening. But COVID in the UK has pulled people together. And there have been many volunteers in the NHS, that's our health service. There have been people helping with food parcels and communities coming together to help each other in all sorts of different ways. And the same is true in many countries around the world. And in the United States, yes, yesterday was incredibly troubling to watch. But undoubtedly, the rule of law will kick in. And those who have committed crimes will be held to account. And the system is holding together in spite of all of these trials, so that they have their checks and balances. And that's a good thing. And we should remember that whenever there is troubles, there's always two sides to a situation, at least two sides. There may be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe a lot more sides. There's different dimensions to everything. So we shouldn't just look at it from one angle and see things in a negative way. But at the same time, it is true there are many tests in the world today, and it's a lot of troubling things happening. I don't know if people saw my story yesterday, where I shared my friend Todd. He shared a picture, in fact, a short video of no man's land between the border of South Africa and Zimbabwe, and they'd shut the border gates on each side, and all these people are trapped at this moment between the border of South Africa and Zimbabwe. They're in no man's land. What are they supposed to do? What facilities are they supposed to use? Where are they supposed to go and buy food? I suppose it's Africa. Who cares about Africa? But they are brothers and sisters. And they're there at the moment in no man's land, between the border of two different countries. Everybody's looking at COVID. Everybody's looking at the situation in the US. But what about this situation on the border between Zimbabwe and South Africa? And I'm sure there are many other things. I only hear of this because my good friend is a Zimbabwean. If I didn't have a good friend who was a Zimbabwean, maybe I wouldn't hear it either, because it's not being widely reported on the news. I haven't seen anything on BBC about it or Sky. So it's very troubling, very troubling. But what can we do? And, sometimes when we are in these situations, those of us who have a conscience that's working and we're listening to it, we wonder what to do. And this is where Islam does give us a solution. And it may be a frustrating solution to some people, because it's not one that's going to get immediate results. But each of us has some influence. Each of us has our own sphere of influence. That may be just on our immediate family and on our close friends. People who are more well known may have influence within their community or within a business. Some people with a lot more influence may have influence within their countries or even internationally. But whatever influence a person has, they can use that for either good or for either selfish reasons or for evil purposes. It's the same influence, it's the same tool that they have available to them. And each of us has a choice that we make. How are we going to use that? And those of us who have a conscience and who listen to our conscience, whatever our beliefs, this is true for whether people are Muslims or Christians or Buddhists or whichever religious belief they have, it also applies to them. Because there are people who have all different faiths, and even people who are atheists that have consciences, who care. And everyone can apply this piece of advice. And that is that whatever influence we have, to use it to do some good. To use it to highlight both the problems and not just highlight problems, but be part of the solutions. And this second part is very important as well. Because it's easy to complain. It's easy to say, oh, this situation is so terrible and I'm so angry. We've all done that. But what are we going to do about it? And that could be as simple as realizing, well, I have the ability to help my neighbour, who is an old lady, and I can get her shopping, especially during this COVID period. I can go pick up her shopping and bring her shopping. So I could do that. For some people, they might be able to organise a community thing. For other people, they might be able to highlight a situation and get the relevant authorities internationally to act on it and do something to help people. If everybody used whatever influence they had to do some good in this way and not just complain, you think just how much better the situation would be for everybody. How much nicer the world would be that we are living in. You see, most problems that exist in the world are actually created by us. In some cases, they are deliberately created by people. In most cases, they are accidentally created by people, through lack of forethought, lack of consideration, not realizing that, their actions are impacting upon other people. Maybe indirectly, maybe not directly. We might buy products from a shop and we just look for the cheapest product. And, if people have hardly any money, that might be all they can do. So there's no sin on them. But if people have more money and they are in a better situation and they just look for the cheapest product, but those products are actually being manufactured in slave labor, in a what do you call it, like a sweatshop in another country. And the people there have no rights, and although they might receive a pittance of an excuse of a wage, it's not really a wage that anybody could live on. So they're almost slaves. In some cases, people are literally slaves. And when we don't care about that, and we don't try to do something about that, and that could be as simple as, when we see that there's a brand that is, well accredited, that is from source to the customer, that the chain is clear. So we know who's made the stuff. We know it's not got any of these problematic issues. Then if we choose that brand instead of choosing a brand which is just really cheap and is probably made in a slave labor camp, then we can make a difference. Or we can write letters. Some people, they are in such situation they can't make that choice. And like I said, if you're in that situation and you have to go for the cheapest product, there is no sin on you. But even you could write letters. You could write letters to NGOs or to your government or to relevant authorities. And you might think it makes no difference. But if you send letters or emails, sign petitions, if enough names are there, if enough people come together, then you will be taken seriously. You will be listened to, and the media will pick up on things. So it's important that we use whatever we have available to us to do some good in this world. And what that is may vary from one person to another person, because each of us has a different sphere of influence. Each of us has different abilities. Each of us are in different financial situations. But we can all do something. And if it's that point, if we all have that intention in our heart to do something, and then we act on that intention in some constructive way, not in a destructive way, not in the way that causes more problems, but in a constructive way, we act upon that intention and do something good, even if it is small. If everybody does a small thing, it becomes a big thing because everybody's doing it. So, it's a good example of this, a very simple example, and probably one that people might think is trivial, but it is one that I care about. In the UK, all our eggs used to come from factory farmed caged chickens, which are very cruelly treated. But a movement started some years ago, and people started demanding free range eggs. And then when free range eggs appeared in the shops, that is chickens that have been treated fairly and have, more space to live in, then people started buying those free range eggs. And now it's like the section where the caged eggs are, some shops don't even sell caged chicken eggs anymore. Other shops, they will sell them, but it's a much smaller section, because people were voting with their money and buying free range eggs. They wanted to know that the chickens that were laying those eggs were being treated fairly and being treated with some dignity that even animals deserve. And this is an important point even within Islam, because the Prophet Muhammad said that if you cruelly treat an animal, that animal will speak against you on the Day of Judgment. So for Muslims, it's really not a trivial thing. This is one of the reasons why we have these principles of halal and haram when it comes to food, and when it comes to all different products. But as a result of this, and over a number of years, people buying a different product, then the old product, which caused lots of chickens to be cruelly treated, is being phased out. And the same thing can happen with any product, where there is an issue, where there is a concern. And that's just through people buying one product instead of buying another product. That's not people demonstrating on the streets. That's not anything so radical as that. It's a very simple change. And spending a few more pennies, it wasn't even pounds, just a few more pennies to buy a different kind of egg. But the principle still applies, and it applies to any situation. And that small change that lots of people made actually has made a big change. And that in turn has impacted upon farming in the UK, because now there's lots of farms of free range chickens instead of farms of factory farmed chickens. And in the same way, it could apply to other products, where people, not chickens, are being treated cruelly, where people are enslaved, or where the environment is being damaged. And these can be phased out and replaced with better systems. That's one option. But there's so many ways that people can do some good in this world. And even if you're only doing some small amount of good, don't underestimate that and think that it doesn't matter. Every little thing matters. And God sees your intention in your heart. And when you act upon that intention, then do you not think that Allah will reward you for it? Unfortunately, I have another meeting at 7 o'clock, so I have to cut the Sohbet short and go into the Dhikr, which is the real reason we're here, is to remember Allah and to worship Allah. So we will do that. First of all, we're talking about intentions. We will check our intentions again and make sure that our intentions are purely for the sake of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نويت الأبيين نويت الأسد نويت الكوى نويت الاعتكاف، نويت السلوك، نويت الريادة لله تعالى في هذا جميع. And we begin with the Kalama Shahada, the declaration of faith within Islam, that there is nothing worthy of worship except God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. We seek Allah's forgiveness with the reading of Astaghfirullah, which means that I seek Allah's forgiveness. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. أستغفر العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه إنه هو التواب الرحيم يا مسبب الأسباب يا مفاتيح الأبواب يا مقلب قلوب والأبصار يا دلائل المتحيرين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حي يا قيوم يا ذو الجلال والإكرام ويفوض أمري الله إن الله بصير بالعباد رب التشريف. Direct your heart to the heart of your Sheikh, your spiritual teacher. Al-Fatiha Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلوات الشريفة اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 الفاتحة الشريفة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين صلوات الشريفة اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي قد أتيتني من الملك ولم تني من تواريخ حديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت وليه في الدنيا والآخرة توفني مسلما والحقني بالصالحين آمن بالله صدق الله العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين إلى أشرف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وصحبه الكرام وإلى أرواح أنبياء والمرسلين وكل ما يشرعهم وإلى إمات أبوا وإلى مشايخنا في تاريخ النقشبندية عالية كستاني عليك وجعان الفاتحة بسم الله الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم آمين. There is only one God. In Arabic, La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 Muhammed Rasulullah. حسبنا لا قوة إلا بالله ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إلا الشرف وآل وصحبه الكرام وإلى وعيسى وستين والصديقيون الفاتحة بسم الله الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. The remembrance of God. In Arabic, Allah. Allah, 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 Allahu, Allah, 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 Allahu, Allah, 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 Allahu, 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 Allah, Allah, Allahu, Allah, Allah, Allahu, Allah, Allahu, Allah, Allahu, Allah, Allahu, Allah, Allahu, Allah, 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 Allah. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel, la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel, la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Allahu Allah hak, 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 Allahu Allah hay, 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 Allah hay ya qayyum, 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 Allah hay ya qayyum. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel, la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Calling upon Allah's beautiful names. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Allah, Yahu, Ya Daim. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Ghafar, Ya Ghafur, Ya Ghafar, Ya Ghafur. Ya Ghafar, Ya Ghafur, Ya Ghafar, Ya Ghafur. Ya Sattar, Ya Fatah, Ya Sattar, Ya Fatah. Ya Sattar, Ya Fatah, Ya Sattar, Ya Fatah. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Allah. Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim. Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim. Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan, Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan. Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan, Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan. Ya Diyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Diyan, Ya Subhan. Ya Diyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Diyan, Ya Subhan. Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan. Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan. Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Allah. Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. حسبنا ذا ونعم الوكيل والحول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم صلي ربي وسلم جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى كل أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين على أشرف الأنبياء سيدنا محمد الصلوات على أفضل الأنبياء سيدنا محمد الصلوات على أكمل الأنبياء سيدنا محمد الصلوات صلوات الله وملائكته وأنبيائه ورسوله وجميع خلقه على محمد وعلى آل محمد وعليه والسلام ورحمة الله وبركاته ورضي الله تبارك وتعالى عن سادتنا شعب رسول الله أجمعين وعن تبينا بهم بإحسان وعن مجتدين يوم الدين وعن علماء المتقين وعن أولياء الصالحين وعن مشايخنا في تلك النقشبندية التالية قد صلواتهم الزكية ونور الله تعالى أدراتهم مباركة ورضاه تعالى علينا من بركاتهم وفيوداتهم دائما الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم استعين صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم Oh Allah, we beseech you, Allah, bless the Prophet Muhammad and his noble family. Bless the previous prophets and their noble families. Bless the descendants of Prophet Muhammad, especially Imams Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Zain al-Abidin, Jafar as-Sadiq, all of the Ahlul Bayt, all of his righteous companions, and the righteous caliphs, the scholars, the saints, and especially my teachers, Sufi Abdullah and Maulana Sheikh Nazim. Ya Allah, raise their stations in your divine presence and bless their souls for all eternity. And Ya Allah, also bless Sunan Gunung Jati, all of the Wali Songo, the 9 saints of Indonesia, Sheikh Adang Badruddin, and my father, Richard Kevin Armstrong. Ya Allah, raise their stations in your divine presence and bless their souls for all eternity. Allah, shower your blessings upon my mum and my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and grant them good health, grant them renewed health and strength, grant them long life, and grant them success in every good thing which they do. Ya Allah, grant them the best of this life and the best of the hereafter. O Allah, shower your blessings upon my brother and my sister, my brothers and sisters-in-law, and all of my nieces and nephews. Ya Allah, shower them with your blessings and your guidance and support, and protect them from all kinds of evil. Grant them success in everything good which they do. O Allah, shower your special blessings upon my beloved wife Fiona, and our children Sophia, Athena and Elizabeth. Ya Allah, grant our family to be under your divine protection and blessing. Grant us the resources to be able to look after our family, and also to be able to do our work in the community for your sake. O Allah, we ask you shower your blessings upon our children, and grant that they may be that they won't drift too far from the path, and will return to the path which is good for them in their life, one which is beneficial, and one which is not harmful to them or towards others. O Allah, we ask you to shower your blessings upon my children and our family, and grant us all to be in good health and well-being. And we thank you for all the many blessings that you provide us every day, the many miracles you provide us every day, for which we do not thank you enough. O Allah, I ask for your special blessings upon my friends, especially those friends who have been with me through thick and thin, through difficult times. Especially Sheikh Robin and Nisha, Muhammad Abbasi and his family, Dr. Khurshid and his family, Sheikh Amran and his family, Sheikh Dawood and his family, Sheikh Amin and his family, Sheikh Hisham and his family, Sheikh Noor and his family, Sheikh Mohammed and his family. O Allah, shower your blessings upon all of my friends and grant them your divine support and blessings and forgiveness for any mistakes which they make. O Allah, shower your blessings upon everyone who is connected to me, whether through the Naqshbandi tariqat or the Association of British Muslims, Nahdlatul Ulama, Muhammadiyya, my interfaith and intrafaith connections, or social media, however people are connected. Make this as a means through which they will be connected to my sheikhs, and through my sheikhs and their sheikhs through to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and through to the Divine Presence. And make this as a means through which, and a channel through which, your blessings, guidance and support can flow. O Allah, shower your blessings upon our human family and grant forgiveness. Lift this pandemic from us. Lift this corruption from us. Inspire our hearts towards good and towards building a better world that is beneficial towards everyone on this planet and all the other communities of life which we share this earth with. My thoughts at this time particularly go out to the people trapped between the borders of South Africa and Zimbabwe, and being neglected by everyone, to people who are also living in refugee camps in various Middle Eastern countries as a result of recent conflicts, to people also suffering in Afghanistan, to the United States, which is going through a very traumatic time, to people suffering around the world as a result of the COVID pandemic, whether they're suffering from the virus themselves or from the consequences of the virus with lost loved ones. Ya Allah, my heart goes out to all of them, and I ask that you grant them your blessings and your support for the sake of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi Sayyidina Muhammadin wa sallam. Salli Rabbi wa sallim ala jami'i anbiya'i wa mursalin wa likulli ajma'in walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إلى حضرات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وصحبه الكرام وإلى أرواح سائر أنبياء ومرسلين والقدماء الشرعين وإلى أرواح مشايخنا في تاريخ النقشبندية العالية كستان الروحي Imam Tariqat wa Gothi Khalika Shaboidin Naqshband wa ila Waisi wa Bukhari wa ila Sheikh Abdullah wa Faiz Dagestani wa ila Zindapia wa ila Sufi Abdullah wa ila Maulana Sheikh Nazim wa ila Maulana Sheikh Hisham wa ila Sheikh Adang Badruddin wa ila Gusto wa ila Sheikh Badsha wa ila Sheikh Habibullah wa ila Sheikh Muhammad Adil وإلى الشيخ داود وإلى الشيخ نور وإلى السائوي سادتنا والصديقيون الفاتحة. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. I'll be back tomorrow for my Friday reflections. I do apologise for the timing being different today and not being starting at the time that I said I would, either starting a bit late and cutting this short today. But in a way, it's a good thing, because you can see, I mean, the zikr is flexible. When you have less time, it is permissible to shorten it and to adapt it, especially once you understand the zikr and what you have to do in the zikr. You can do that, and you still get blessed, because Allah knows your situation, and Allah knows that you are remembering Him. So this is allowed. I'm going to sign off now. If you find these videos useful, don't forget to subscribe to my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube, wherever you've watched these videos, whether live or the recordings, so you can keep updated in future. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for my Friday Reflections. Wish you all the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.